Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but first let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can find out more about what Hometown Ticketing can do for you and your school by going to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper is the way that athletic directors, schools, and coaches can create world-class marketing content, create custom branded content for your school's social media channels in seconds on any device and without needing any design experience. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com and find out more about how Gipper can help you and your athletic program. We also want to thank Final Forms, the industry leader in registration. But Final Forms is more than just forms. Final Forms is a team, it's technology, and they provide schools with compliance, communication, and risk management solutions. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with mobile accessibility, and they have reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that go with having an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help with team communication and attendance and even certification management for coaches. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. And it does this with secure language translation and ADA compliance. You know, it's time for you to talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you and your program, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get on the Final Forms team. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their teams play better using video and analytics. Huddle is the complete performance platform. They've got online tools, they have smart cameras, they've always had analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle is also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high school and college programs. And even the pros use Huddle to help their teams play at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes and the coaches you're trying to get to recruit them. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also connects you to the 95% of the parents and the student athletes who really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. Their indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more for your department and create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com and see exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. And we want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen consoles, and an entire library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. You can also call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Let them help you bring your school's legacy to life. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're traveling up the coast to Connecticut today, and we're going to be visiting with Elisha DeJesus. She's the director of, get ready for this, athletics, activities, physical education, and health for the Middletown Public School System, and that's in Middletown, Connecticut. Elisha, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jake. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to be a part of the podcast. So thank you, Jake, for having me on today.
Oh, well, absolutely. Thank you to you. We connected through a mutual friend, Lisa Montgomery, down here in Florida, and we're excited to hear what's happening in Middletown. So let's jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that 5-minute bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe a little sports background, and how your path has led you to Middletown, Connecticut.
All right. So my family is from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Both my parents were recruited while at the University of Puerto Rico by Hartford Public Schools in Connecticut to teach in Hartford in the bilingual program in 1972. My mom taught kindergarten for 35 years, and my dad was a principal. And he became a principal. He went through, was a PE health teacher, then became an assistant principal, and then became principal in one of the elementary schools in Hartford. My oldest brother, is currently the assistant principal at CREC, Academy of Aerospace and Engineering, for grades 6 through 8. So as you can tell, education runs very deep in our family. I played soccer, softball, and basketball growing up, and eventually I stuck with soccer and basketball in high school. Prior to getting into high school, I wanted to kind of follow in my father's footsteps and become a physical education teacher. That was kind of something that spoke to me. And then, I had some aspirations of being an administrator as well at that point in time in high school. But I knew that little did I know that I would create my own pathway to my own professional career. From high school, I went to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York, on a full Division I basketball scholarship, where I got my BA in psychology, special and elementary education. I came back home to Connecticut and was blessed to be asked to play professionally basketball in Puerto Rico. So I played there for 3 years, and what a tremendous experience that was, not only because I was able to obviously play, but I was around my extended family, and they had the opportunity to see me play consistently. So it was really, really, really special. While there, I got my Master's of Science degree in PE from Central Connecticut State University. And through the years that I was there as well, I also coached basketball at the collegiate level for a year in upstate New York at a D3 school called Clarkston University. Through those connections that I made that year at Clarkston University, I only coached for a year. I got the opportunity to get a phys ed job in upstate New York. So I stayed up there. And while I was there, I coached girls and boys basketball and coached softball, while also being the athletic director for a small K-12 school district in Morristown, New York. And I also, during that time, got my second master's degree in educational leadership because of those aspirations early on of becoming an administrator. After 5 years up in upstate, which was about 6 hours from Hartford, I came back home and became a PE teacher in Hartford, Connecticut. I coached girls basketball, and then I had an opportunity to become a dean of students at a nearby school in Hartford called Sand School for half a year. And during my time, I went through a lot of different interviews Because in my time in Morristown as an athletic director, I knew this is kind of where I want to, this is where I want to go. This is going to be my goal, to be a full-time athletic director. So I interviewed a whole bunch of different places, and eventually got to interview at Middletown, and here I am almost 9 years later. So that's pretty much kind of where I got to where I am today. I do have to say that, the skills that I learned through sport, obviously time management, being a team player, being a good listener, really has gotten me in the position that I am, and being able to talk to all of you.
Wow. And again, our regular listeners hear me say this all the time, but it's so true. I just love listening to the stories, and pretty cool. We've had a few former professional athletes on, and that kind of fascinates me a little bit. I always joke, injuries and lack of talent kept me out of the NFL. How was that? You said it was 3 years you played basketball. Was internationally, what's one of the stories that stick out in your mind from that period?
So in Puerto Rico, so there, the season at that time, the season was just during the summer. So it was like 3 months. But it was, a lot of games within those 3 months. And it was just in Puerto Rico, just the Women's League in Puerto Rico. And we would go to different games throughout the island. And, there was an all-star game at the end. There's a championship, which I played for La Criolla de Caguas, and we went to the championships 2 years in a row when I played with them. And it was the grind, right? It was just everything you did, from the moment you got up to the moment you went to sleep was, basketball. And it really, it taught me a lot after, my college years. Because I learned a lot throughout high school, a lot playing college ball. It was just different. It was just a different, you have to have a different mentality. But, again, through all the skills that I've learned growing up, it really prepared me for that level of play. And, it wasn't bad being on the island either. So.
Yeah, our daughter lived in Puerto Rico for a while. Also was a frequent stop when she was working for the cruise lines. But I digress. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Elisha DeJesus, and she's the athletic activities and PE health director for the Middletown School District in Middletown, Connecticut. We're going to be back with some more, but let's take a quick break here from one of our sponsors. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our newest sponsor, Gipper, for their support. Gipper is the way that athletic directors, coaches, and schools can create world-class marketing content. You can create custom branded content for your school's social media channels in seconds on any device and without needing any design experience. It's so easy, even I can do it. Okay? Go to Gipper.com, tell them that you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast, and they'll give you a great deal. That's Gipper.com for game-changing, world-class marketing content. Welcome back, everyone. Our guest today is Elisha DeJesus from Middletown Public Schools up in Connecticut. Elisha, you have such a wide variety of experiences, as an athlete, student, teacher, coach. But let's talk about that transition to the athletic director's chair, what I like to say, sitting on the other side of the desk. How was that, let's say that initial experience, good things, challenges, share with our listeners that part of your life.
Yeah, I think, when we're in as far as coaching and teaching, the biggest thing is you're always interacting with students. You're always involved with the students 24/7. I think the biggest thing for me now in this position, the most, I guess, difficult thing has been not having that same interaction with students on a daily basis. I definitely miss that. But another piece to that obviously is, as the director of athletics, I came in, I feel as though because of my experiences as a teacher and as a coach, when I speak to our coaches, and I speak to our teachers that, I supervise, I come from a lens of, listen, like, I've been where you're at. I've done some of the things you've done, and, and in helping and giving resources and providing support. I feel like I've been able to do that because of my previous experiences. And, same goes with student athletes and talking with students. And, I was, a student athlete, from middle to high school to college to professional. So I have some special interactions with students who want to have conversations with me. What do I need to do to get to the college level? How do I get myself out there? What do I do? What are the support systems I need? So I think, having, like I've said, having those experiences have really helped me tremendously in my position. I've also learned, I have to collaborate with a lot of different stakeholders. Obviously, our most important stakeholders are our students, but, our school community, our park and rec department, our city council, our mayor, our board of education, and being able to communicate and collaborate has really been something that has helped me with having those conversations on what is needed for us here in the building, what is needed for our student athletes, what I need from our facilities department on any given day. That communication that I've learned, being a teacher, being a coach, and then now in this position has really helped me. And ultimately, it helps and benefits our students.
That expression, you don't know what you don't know. I can look back at my first time sitting in that 80s chair, and boy, it's not just scheduling games or buses. Did you have kind of an aha moment as an athletic director? Not like I just described, but the opposite end, where you go, yeah, I got this. I'm an athletic director. Does anything stick out for you?
Listen, it probably took me 5 years in this position before I could be like, all right, I think I'm getting it. And honestly, like, it's a continual, it's cycle. Like, I like to describe myself as a big sponge. Like, I want to continue learning. I don't know everything. I learn from everybody that I come in contact with, and I try to grow in this profession as much as I can, because I don't know everything. But as far as like in Middletown, it literally probably took me about 5 years to kind of understand the ins and outs, just working with the different stakeholders and understanding, listening, observing, and then trying, you don't want to come in and make changes right away. You need to observe. You need to see what needs some enhancing, and listen. You need to listen to people, and I'm still, there's an announcement. I'm still, trying to do that. And I come from the perspective with the lens of, I just want to learn and soak everything in so I can be better for our kids. I apologize for the announcement that's happening.
No, and you bring up a good point. As soon as you do say that, yeah, I got this, something happens and you realize, okay, I guess I don't got it.
There's always something that will happen that you've never, knew could happen.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Elisha DeJesus. She's the athletic activity, PE, and health coordinator for Middletown Public Schools in Middletown, Connecticut. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Final Forms, the industry leader in registration. But Final Forms is more than just forms. Final Forms is a team, it's technology, and they provide schools with compliance, communication, and risk management solutions. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility, and they have reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come with having an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help with team communication and attendance, and even certification management for coaches. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. And it does this with secure language translation and ADA compliance. It's time for you to talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you, Go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started and find out exactly how Final Forms can help you. Welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Elisha DeJesus. Elisha, one of the talking points we always use is our mentors section. None of us get here on our own. So who are some of the people that you've had that have touched your life? The expression I like to use is, I still hear those voices in my head. So do you have any voices that you still hear?
Oh, yeah. So I want to start off by saying first two, mom and dad, right? Carmen DeJesus and Federico DeJesus. They were instrumental in my growth as a person and in my career. My mom came to the States when she was 20 years old. She graduated University of Puerto Rico in 3 years. And like I said, was recruited to teach bilingual, and she came with nothing. I think their first paycheck was like $12,000, crazy. But they came and they built, what they were, they got married and they were able, to continue in education, and they continued that. And my brother and I, they played sports in college. They were huge. So my mom was a huge basketball and softball player. She played for the University of Puerto Rico. My dad played football, basketball, and baseball. He was, he was going to play. He got drafted out of high school for baseball, but decided to stay and continue his education. They provided me with so many opportunities growing up. Like, I remember going to UConn, right? We're a huge UConn family. We went to UConn when Coach Oriema first started. We could go to the Campo Pavilion, walk right to the front row on the floor and watch the games. Carrie Bascom, who else was there? Tracy Liss, who was at Providence, but she was from Connecticut. So I got the opportunity to watch women playing sports at that level when I was super young. And to be able to have that opportunity, now that I look back on it, was huge for me and my growth as a woman and in my profession. So, shout out to mom and dad. They've continued that. They didn't miss a college game. My dad was a principal. Okay. I'm sorry, a high school game. My dad was a principal. So he made sure that he was at every single one of my high school games. And they made probably 90% of my college games. And, Marist was about a 2-hour drive. So they were huge in my growth, and big shout outs to both of them. Two other coaches that I had growing up, I had, I played AAU ball from 11 years old to 16 years old. And I had a coach by the name of Bernie Brennan. Bernie Brennan was one of those no nonsense, in your face coach that you don't see too much nowadays. But back during that time, that is what motivated me. And it wasn't just about basketball with Coach Brennan. It was more than just basketball. He talked about nutrition. He talked about, academics. And we had sessions after our AAU practices with binders full of scenarios and putting yourself in this scenario. How would you react? What are you going to do when you get to college and this happens? So I think a lot of my mental toughness really happened. I learned to persevere and get through adversity because of Coach Brennan and his wife, Cindy Brennan. They both coached together. So I had them for 2 years in AAU when I was 13 and 14. And to this day, when I was coaching, they had such an impact on me that I hear them in my ear, and as far as constructive criticism, like constantly. And I really just kind of wanted to be that person for somebody else, for another one of our kids, to be that motivator. And some other individuals that I just want to kind of touch on as far as in my profession today. I'm not sure if you know who Trish Wicken is.
Oh,
she is, yeah, I figured you would. She's obviously, she's in Connecticut as an athletic director for Glastonbury Public Schools. She is the NIAAA past president, 2015. She's our league. Middletown is in the Central Connecticut Conference, which is the biggest conference in Connecticut, 32 districts. She's our commissioner for that conference. She's a secretary to our state association, and she holds numerous leadership positions. I will tell you from the get, I got this position in Middletown in 2004, July 2014. I've had the opportunity to go to every single national conference, which has been a blessing. But to see her be named the president of the NIAAA first year in was huge. A woman in that position, she's our commissioner of the league. It just spoke volumes to me. And just to have her as a colleague, a friend, somebody that I can call with any questions that I have, advice, we can just shoot it and just talk. It's been huge for me. She's been really a huge mentor and somebody that I enjoy speaking with. She does things the right way. And I learn from her every day. Somebody else in Connecticut, Damian Fresinelli. He's on the NIAAA board. He's on our state association board. I've gotten to know him, and he is just an amazing person. Again, somebody just like Trish that I can call, reach out to. He's really funny and just down to earth. So just a big shout out to those individuals that have helped me in my way figuring everything out up until now.
Wow. Again, I just love hearing those stories. I got to make a comment though. You talked about your AAU coaches and the activities that they did beyond the coaching. I think it's easy to do. And I am guilty of this far too often, of characterizing AAU coaches and AAU at one end of the spectrum, a completely different spectrum from what we call educational based athletics. And those activities, that was spot on for educational base. So, and I know this is true because I've had some at my own schools. There's some good AAU coaches out there, good in all sense of the word.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, AAU back then, there was like one team, there was two teams, two AAU programs in Connecticut. It was either the Connecticut Starters or at that point, Team Connecticut. Like now there's just so many, but I can, obviously speak to Coach Brennan, both Coach Bernie and Coach Cindy, as far as, the other things that are important. It's just not about basketball. And it truly helped me grow.
I appreciate you sharing that. Once again, for our listeners, we're visiting today with Elisha DeJesus. She's the Athletic and Activities Director at Middletown Public Schools in Middletown, Connecticut. Going to be back with some more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Huddle for their support. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their teams play better using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They've got online tools. They have smart cameras. They've always had analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle's also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high school and colleges. And even the pros use Huddle to help their athletes perform at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes and the college coaches you're trying to get to recruit them. If you want to find out more about how Huddle can help you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Elisha DeJesus. Elisha, you've been in this business now for quite a while at a lot of different levels, but we've got some younger listeners that are just starting their journey. And I think it's important for them to kind of hear about the importance of getting involved, locally, at state level, and even at the NIAAA level. So kind of share where you're at on your journey right now.
Yeah, sure. So it took me a little while to get my feet wet in my state association and NIAAA. I mentioned earlier how it took me about 5 years to really feel comfortable in the position that I'm in right now. And I think, in those 5 years, like I said, I went to the national conference and I found my people, and I kind of just stayed in my bubble and I was comfortable with that. But I have to say that, I was asked early on, I was asked by our state association, the position became available on our girls basketball committee. I think, in order to be, as far as the committees, we're looking for representation, and in order to be inclusive, we want a woman, and I'm a Latina woman. And I was like, absolutely, I want to have that. I want to be able to represent on the girls because I love basketball, right? But I also, want people to see it, that representation does matter. And my voice, from my perspective, does matter as well. So I was a part of the CIAC, Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference Girls Basketball Committee, which has been a really, really great experience for me, getting to know different coaches across the state, different athletic directors, principals, administrators. I really, I have to be honest and say that I didn't start getting involved with NIAAA and more involved with our state association until after the murder of George Floyd. And I'll get into that a little bit. So you mentioned, I haven't actually mentioned this, but I am the treasurer and a board member of NOMAD, the National Organization of Minority Athletic Directors, which was founded after the murder of George Floyd in June 2020. I've been really, really close friends with Carlos Reed from California and Anthony Thomas since I began in Middletown in 2014. And they are two co-founders of this organization, along with Kevin G. Adams and Anthony Fisher. Through this work on NOMAD, I feel as though I obviously met a lot of people during those summer months. And through that, I think I was asked to be on the NIAAA ad hoc DEI committee in July 2020. And I am excited to say that in this past December, we were officially voted as an official committee within the NIAAA. I was then asked to present at the 2020 National Conference, the virtual National AD Conference with, I believe Candace Mitchell. She's been on here a couple times from Atlanta. I was able to present with her. And our title of our presentation was Empowering Minority Interscholastic Athletic Administrators of School-Based Sports Programs. What an amazing experience to work with Candace and then to be able to present. It was, even though it was virtual, I myself, after presenting, just felt super, super empowered. And through the work with the national level, I had a conversation with our executive director here at the state level, Fred Balsamo, and he asked me to be on our state association board as a diversity, equity, inclusion rep. Absolutely. So basically, each time we have a meeting, I bring in any information that I have at the national level with our board, then we can kind of go out to our own districts and give information out to them. And then I was also asked, after that, I was asked to be on our state board as our league representative. So Central Connecticut, conference with Trish Wicken being the commissioner, and now I'm on the board representing the league. And most recently, through the work that we've been doing here in the state, our league, the CCC, created a racial equity justice committee within our league. So I am a part of that committee as well. Doing a lot of work. We're still in the beginning phases for this specific committee, but really excited that for the work for what is going to be coming. So as you can see, I'm super passionate about equity in athletics and education, and I just really want to help in creating inclusive spaces for athletic directors across the country, which ultimately will benefit our student athletes.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of takeaways for me. Obviously, your passion for, DEI comes through as it should. But I think the other message or companion message was just get involved. Okay. You had opportunities, some you reached out to individuals, others, they contacted you. But again, for our listeners, that happens so frequently. You look at someone's name and they're on a committee or they're chair of a committee or something. It didn't just happen by magic. They sought that position out. There's nothing wrong with that. If you've got a passion for something, if you think you can help and add your voice, do it, reach out and get involved. And, you mentioned two of my, good professional friends, Candace Mitchell, we were on certification together. We still teach together for the national faculty, and Tony Fisher, we had him down here in Florida for a long time. And, he's up in Minnesota, and obviously, helped found Nomad. So very cool stuff. Thanks so much for sharing. For our listeners, once again, our guest today is Elisha DeJesus. She's from Middletown, Connecticut. We're going to be back with some more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. They're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen consoles and an extensive library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, or you can call them at 614-981-3589. And you can also email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Let them help you bring your school's legacy to life. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Elisha, as we mentioned earlier, you've got quite a background in sports, but now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. What are some things that you and your coaches and your programs have at Middletown that you're particularly proud of, that when you step back and take that 100 look or 100-foot look, these are things that you're really, really proud of? Do you have anything you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have something that we call the Jim Bransfield Legacy Award. And Jim Bransfield was a community member here in Middletown, passed away in late 2017. He was a retired history teacher. He was our advisor for the newspaper. He announced all of our football games, announced our baseball state championship games, which are held at Palmer Field in Middletown, Connecticut. And he worked for the local newspaper as a writer, as a sports writer. In his passing in 2017, Jim Bransfield was a huge supporter of Middletown and our student athletes. He wanted our kids to enjoy what high school had to offer, and believed in student athletes playing multiple sports and not specializing in one. So once he passed in 2017, 2018, we created the Jim Bransfield Legacy Award, which is for the 12-season student athlete. So every spring recognition event night, where we have all of our, spring programs come together to celebrate and recognize our achievements, I am able to give out the Jim Bransfield Legacy Award, which is a medal. And behind the medal is each of our senior student athletes' name that have participated in a season for their whole entire high school career. So, it's something that we've always talked about in our league. When I first started in 2014 about, just the times now our kids are just specializing in one sport. Like, what can we do to advocate? What can we do to show the importance of playing multiple sports? So we were able to do this here at Middletown, and it's the feedback that we've gotten, it's been awesome. Each year we've done it, we've gotten a couple more and more kids in the list. Obviously with the pandemic, it did hurt a little, it did affect us a little bit, but we're back on track this year, and just looking forward. I just had a student this morning ask me, Mr. Jesus, how can I, if I'm a manager, can I still get the Jim Bransfield Legacy Award? And I told, absolutely, you are a part of the program as a manager. You're putting in the work, just like the athletes are in that program. You will get that Jim Bransfield Legacy Award at the end of your senior year. So there's excitement behind that. The kids love it. We're getting it. We're advertising it out. So it's been super special. A lot of people, even though it's been a few years since Jim Bransfield passed away, a lot of people know who he is. and understand the name and the legacy around that, and wanting to recognize our 12 season student athletes. So that's something exciting that we've been doing. And then the last thing that I'll highlight is, I think a lot of other programs do, a lot of other districts do this, but we do a huge senior signing day celebration recognition event. When I first started, I would always have, a student would come up to me and be like, "Miss, I just signed a letter of intent to attend this college. Can I have my family come? Can we take a picture? Can the paper come?" And I would always do this, but it would be like individually throughout the course of the school year. One of the silver linings through the pandemic was, let's do something. We need to celebrate. We weren't able to allow people into the building. So how are we going to celebrate our seniors that are playing at the next level? So in talking to some of my colleagues and different things that they were doing, we created the senior signing day where we invite the families to come, the students. I compile all the information I get from our coaches as far as those student athletes that have signed a letter of intent, that have signed a letter of commitment, no matter the level, no matter the division, no matter if it's even a prep school, they are continuing their education and playing careers at the next level. We need to recognize them. We need to celebrate them. So we came up with a day in, beginning of June. Every year it'll be at the beginning of June, and all of our families will get together. We have it at the high school. We have snacks, we have food. We even live streamed it this year. So just trying to, next year we might add something to it to make it, a little bit better, but feedback has been positive. And it's just all about celebrating our kids and recognizing them for their accomplishments. It's a big deal to play at the next level. So let's celebrate them.
No, both of those activities, I just love. When I was an athletic director, we would recognize every single, multi-sport kid at the end of the year sports awards. And, our high school, we had about 400 kids in the high school. And so, we started, I think the first year I was there, we had 13 kids that had done 3 sports. And by the time I ended, we had like 65, 70 kids every year. And we ended up getting a sponsor. We started with t-shirts, and then we went with hoodies, and then we had a nice jacket. And, we would have kids saying, "I want that jacket. I'm going to do that third sport." So very cool stuff. I love that, having that perpetual honor, recognizing someone from your department. Very cool stuff. Alicia, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, and listeners, I certainly encourage you to do so. What's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
So the best way would be my email, my school email, and that is DeJesus E. So DeJesusE @mpsct.org. So that is my email. You can also find it on our website as well, if that was too much to write down.
And I think it's also on the NIAAA portal as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So again, Elisha DeJesus, we're going to be back with some more. Let's take another quick break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive. Their indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate money for your department and also create the ultimate game day experience in your gym. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and see exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Alicia, you mentioned that, you got started really kind of with, NIAAA and Nomad and all that as a result of, the events in Minneapolis and George Floyd, which actually coincided with the start of this particular podcast and created, one of our enduring questions. So my next question, how can an athletic director or a leader do a better job for their community, for their kids, their coaches? How can they do a better job of being socially aware? Do you have any advice for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think first thing is just being aware of what's going on and acknowledging that it's happening and acknowledging that it affects our kids. And then from there, giving the space for our kids to have a voice and being a good listener while you create that space for students, whether it's through student leadership programs that you have within your school, whether it's through the school community, like having a space for our students to talk. And it's not always going to be positive, like it's going to be uncomfortable conversations. And, I truly believe that through uncomfortable conversations, movement can happen and things can change. You have to want to be a part of the solution, right? So when I said earlier that, I really didn't start getting involved with the NIAAA until the murder of George Floyd, what I meant by that was that I knew that how can I want things to change if I'm not a part of that? I wanted to be a part of it. I want to bring change for the better for our organizations. And, what better way than to actually be in it with, colleagues and working together to bring positive changes for our student athletes. I think it's important, like you mentioned before, you have to get involved with these different organizations that are going to support and provide resources for you and your building. I said earlier, I am, a board member of Nomad. We are looking for allies. You do not have to be a Black or brown person to be in this organization. We want everybody a part of Nomad as an ally, to be able to, get resources, get professional development, and then bring that back to your districts. There's the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, another great organization. You don't have to be a woman to be in this organization. If you are a member of the NIAAA, I urge you to be a member of both of these, the Nomad organization and the Global Community, because you're only going to learn and grow and be better for your student athletes. And the last thing I will say is, there is an NIAAA DEI committee. There's 16 of us. There's 2 in each of that are section leaders. Reach out to them. There are situations that are happening in our country. Reach out to us. We might be able to assist. We might be able to provide you with information, we want to work with our sections in being proactive, but also in assisting and providing resources, mentorship, whatever it is, and however we can help.
I am a member of Nomad and the Global Community. I haven't been attending the Nomad sessions as much as I should, so shame on me. But I do appreciate you giving that shout out to everybody. Both great organizations, and they're all part of what we do in this world of educational athletics. So thanks again for that shout out. This has been really cool, visiting with you, getting to know you just a little bit, again, through our mutual friend, but we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with the athletic director's Toolbox, which is sponsored by Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. And we're going to hear from them in just a minute. But when we come back from that commercial, we're going to ask Elisha DeJesus what 3 tools she would put into a new athletic director's toolbox. So please stay with us. Let's hear from Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. This is the Educational AD Podcast. As I mentioned, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director Toolbox segment. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also connects you with the 95% of the parents and the student athletes who really love your program. And it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone. It's the Educational AD Podcast, and it's time for the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Our guest today, Elisha DeJesus from Middletown, Connecticut. We've already established has a tremendous background and experience as a coach, as an athlete, as an AD. But now I'm going to ask her to put 3 tools, just 3, into a new athletic director's toolbox. Elisha DeJesus, what's going to go into your athletic director toolbox?
Cool, only 3. All right. My first one's a little bit long, but I think as you start, you need to take time to listen and observe about things that are going well, observe systems and practices, and engage in a review of what needs enhancing, and reflect to enhance and not necessarily change to start. You want to build your community and you want to build your school community. I think number 2, so we'll say the acronym WTF. Now, just give me a second. I had the opportunity to be the keynote speaker at my high school a few years ago, and I used this acronym WTF with in my speech. And what I mean by WTF is work, time, fear. Put the work in, put the time into getting that work done, and take some risks. Take some risks for your kid, for your students specifically, and don't be afraid to do what's right. And then the last one I would say is surround yourself with individuals that are going to support you and push you, challenge you. They're going to challenge you to be better, that share similar values and goals as you. Surround yourself with good people. And luckily I've really been able to do that in my career so far, and I've only been able to grow because of it.
No, I love it. And anytime somebody comes up with a play on words, WTF, I'm all about that. Great stuff. Okay. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Sure. My email is DeJesus at mpsct.org.
Okay. Elisha DeJesus from Middletown, Connecticut. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and all the best moving forward with your school and all of your activities.
Thank you so much, Jake. Really appreciate our time together.
Oh, it was great. Really enjoyed it. For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of all of the interviews we do get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. And before we go, we want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can find out more about what Hometown Ticketing can do for you and your school by going to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Thanks again for listening to today's episode on the Educational AD Podcast. We're looking forward to a great summer of content. Please check us out. If you have any questions, shoot me an email at jakestouchdown@gmail.com or jakestouchdown on Twitter. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.